FinCom meeting to order. 7:01. All right, thanks, everybody. I think we're gonna, also, yeah, Mark's dialing in too. I knew Mark was, and Emily reached out to me earlier too and said she should probably be on Zoom as well.
We have Emily on Zoom.
Yep. Cool.
I'm here.
Oh, you're here already. Oh, perfect. Awesome. Thanks, Emily. Thanks for joining. Appreciate it. I know how scheduling can be. So a quick run through the agenda. We'll go through liaison reports. Then we'll pass the baton over to Fidel for a song, and we'll vote to reorganize. And then new chair will run the rest of it, which is. And it was in the packet, kind of liaison assignments. We'll just, kind of discuss, preferences. We don't need to, kind of nail anything down or iron anything out in, kind of stone. And then we're going to have, kind of two presentations, one on MBTA communities and then one on the landscape committee. And then we will approve minutes, and then we should be done. And I'm sure in that you might have other topics to talk for agenda-wise, kind of going forward when our next meeting might be. But we'll get to that. We'll let the new chair get to that. All right, so we'll start with liaison reports. I'll just kind of go around the room. I'll start with the people in the room. Jeffrey.
Tom Wise was elected new chair of the school committee, and Aaron Gaffin is co-chair, or vice chair, sorry, vice chair. And you reported already on Derek Pinto as the new finance director.
Anything for you, Joe?
Yeah, we talked about the library later,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
We can talk about that, so.
Josie?
I wasn't at the meeting because I've been on vacation, just got back. But we do have a new RMLD Board of Commissioners member, Pam Daskalakis.
Oh, okay, yep.
I don't think I have anything else.
Okay. Go ahead, Marion. I'll go last.
Well, you and I have some select board updates.
You can take the slide yourself.
Yeah, so at their last meeting, they discussed but did not finalize the FY25 tax rate. And I think there was a presentation on how we are one of the people that does not shift one of the communities among contiguous communities and some other ones, not all of them, because North Reading doesn't shift and Wilmington actually has commercial pay less. But that there was a feeling that residential has increased so much, and should we shift commercial more? And I'm sure there'll be a lot more discussion on that.
You mean residential valuations have increased so much?
Right, valuations, I mean, that's not anyone's fault, that's just the way the market is, and that's true in all of those other communities with which we were being compared as well. It's just that some of them, like Stoneham and Wakefield, they've maximized their shift, so that'll be an ongoing topic. And they also, it's not really pertinent to us, but it was interesting to me. There was a demo of the road construction tracker, which I'm sure a lot of us get very concerned in knowing about. And I have great sympathy that it's only the town engineer who really is on top of it. He's a one-person staff, so he's gonna do the best he could. There's a committee coming up. Any town meeting members can apply for charter review, and the charter specifies there's members from certain boards, not this one, but the elected boards, as well as bylaw, which makes sense. And the deadline is the end of this week to apply for that. There was a dog park public forum, which I watched last night, and Fidel can correct me, but I had the feeling that consensus next step choice may be Hunt Park, maybe.
I hope so.
It was not like high up on the list, but then Chuck Tironi said, it's really has possibilities. And when I looked at the map, the area where they're considering abuts conservation land, so it's not so close to residents that I know, everybody is always gonna complain when something new comes in, but it seems like it's one of the least impact choices. And I don't know that Simon's Way is is necessarily select board or if we have a liaison to there, but they're getting pretty active with requests. Pickleball people came to them and nobody wants to commit anything like a dog park, which is my train of thought, to Simon's Way yet because they wanna issue their RFI for uses and they have a lot of great ideas. But the dog park, to the extent it's pertinent to FinCom, because one hopes if they come up with something, it wouldn't cost us money because there's this Stanton grant, I think it's called, that is only good till December of 2023. Well, you have to apply by December 2023, and it has to be town-owned land. Fidel can correct me if I've missed anything, those are just kind of the high points. So if we have a known town-owned spot that works, we can at least try to apply for this grant if there's a desire for the dog park. So that's all. The select board has been busy. All of these things tied to them.
Awesome, thanks, Mary Ann. Andrea? So I'll go to the folks online. Emily, anything on your end?
No, the only thing I had gone to was the dog park thing, and so thanks for the summary, Mary Ann.
Mark, anything on your end?
Yeah, so in June 15th, I attended the RMLD sub-audit committee meeting, and a couple of things on that. One is Melanson, the current auditor, got acquired and merged with Markham, so the Sharon can probably add to that. So the auditor is going to change both on the town side and on RMLD. And then the other bit of news is that somebody in the accounting department within RMLD did get caught in a phishing, incident, and so they've updated their policies on. Did you hear about that, Sharon, at all?
I did not.
Yeah. So it was a payroll issue. So he got an email to change a direct deposit on a payroll and did it, and it was a phishing. So they've done some internal, policies and procedures updates. So Sharon, I'm surprised you haven't heard about it, but we should make sure we get that covered on the town side.
Thanks, Mark, appreciate it. John, anything on your end?
No, nothing from me, thanks.
All right, so just on my end, most of the stuff is covered, but the only thing that I'll add is on the Killam School Building Committee. I'm never gonna get that right. There's an S in there somewhere, I never know if it's before the B or after the B. So we met last Monday. A couple items, the committee reorged, Carla Nazaro as chair, Karen Herrick as vice chair. We got an introduction to our representative for the OPM, which is Colliers is the, and then Mike Carroll came in and kind of gave us a presentation. For anyone that's interested, it's actually we're kind of getting into some meat now, so it's getting interesting. We're starting to kind of map out timelines. Next up is to select a designer, and so and we're going to meet again the 7th, and then again on the 21st. We have scheduled meetings, but. It sounds, it was kind of slow going to kind of get to the OPM, but once those dominoes start to fall, then, kind of more things are going to start to fall into place, and there'll be members of the committee and probably others in the community are going to start looking at other schools and designs and, kind of all different parts of that. So it's for folks that care, it's probably worth it. Meetings are quick. I'm hoping Carla runs a tight meeting, but again, it's from that perspective, it's been really good. I will say that, and this will be kind of a constant refrain, at least from my end, as a member of the committee. There'll be kind of imperative for all of us to be able to kind of get the word out. as far as what's happening, why we're doing it, the kind of the pros and the cons and what it's going to achieve, because this will be put in front of the voters at some point in time, and it'll be here before we know it. And I think there's just, Mike Carroll mentioned it from Colliers during the meeting. It's something that it'll be kind of a constant update, lots of different methods and lots of different ways to be able to give those updates, because we want to make sure that the voters are, kind of well informed as far as what we're doing on that side. So I think that's, for the folks that, kind of may be interested in tangentially, that's, that's one thing. But as, kind of a finance committee member there, I'll have better updates on my end. But it'd be good for folks. And I'll do a better job of making sure if there's something that's kind of relevant to make sure that folks are aware, so that if you can join, if not, then you can watch it post. So that's pretty much it from me. I'm happy to answer any questions or about the liaison assignments, or the liaison reports, I should say, before we go on to the next one. I didn't do that as we went through, but any questions or anything on that? Again, probably should have done that as we were going through, but that's fine. All right, so I will now pass the baton over to Fidel, so we can vote on reorganization.
Thank you. And just as a reminder, this is something that all boards and committees have to do every July. Basically, it's a mandatory reorg every July because of our bylaws. So what we do is we take nominations for chair. Nominations are open for people to give to me. Then once nominations are done, we'll close the nominations, and then we'll allow those nominees to speak. And once that is done, we will vote on nominations by last name. The first name to get a majority, obviously, will take the chairship. So with that said, I'll open up for nominations for chair of the Finance Committee.
I'd like to nominate Ed Ross.
Yeah, second.
Sorry, not sorry.
I'd like to nominate Joe Carnahan. If he's willing.
Depends. Is Ed willing?
Ed's willing. Yeah, I'm willing to do it. Yep.
I've got two nominations, Ed Ross and Ed Carnahan. Any other nominations?
Point of order. Did that need a second?
Second.
Thanks.
There you go, Joe.
I nominate Mary Ann, if she's willing, but.
It's fine. Thank you.
Second.
Okay. Any other nominations? Okay. The nominations are closed. If the candidates would like to speak, Mr. Joe first. Joe Carnahan.
Well, I mean, I will say that I absolutely love being on Finance Committee, and I've learned a ton, and am, hoping to get, to spend another, 8 years on it. Personally, I'm planning to vote for Ed.
Very nice. Ms. Mary Ann?
Well, I'm honored to be nominated. I'm happy with Ed. I'm happy to be chair. I've chaired another committee already when I chaired RAC, so I know what goes into creating an agenda and putting things together. And like Joe, I plan on being on Finance Committee as long as I can. But I'm also willing to accept a secondary role like Vice as well, because I think Ed has put in some time on the Killam Committee, and I just think that that's important to have that continuity, in my opinion, for at least the next couple of years. But I do think it's also a good idea, and whoever it is, that we get different perspectives, like to rotate the chairship at some point. But right now, that's an important role, I think, to have consistency. And conceivably, he could still be the liaison to Killam even if he isn't chair. So I guess that frees up things.
Mr. Ed?
Yeah, so thanks, Joe, and everyone else for, and I know that I've been chair for a while, so I understand a need for a change if folks are so willing. I do enjoy it. I do like, I'm getting slightly better at it. But there's always room for improvement. But I'm happy to, kind of, if someone new is chair, and then if they need, some experience as vice chair, happy to be able to do that too. So, no, I won't be too hurt if it doesn't work out that way.
All right. So we'll do a roll call vote with the folks on Zoom first. We're voting yes or no, so yay or nay on the first name, which is Joe Carnahan, and we'll do a roll call vote. I'll start with Mark, and then I'll follow with Emily, John, and then we'll do everyone in the room in this order. Yes, and the first one means yes for Joe Carnahan for chair. Mark?
And you can only vote for one, right?
That was going to be my question. How are we only voting for one as we go through that, or how do we?
So we have had committees where multiple people have voted for multiple chairs. That is correct.
That happened on Swan.
But just beware that, like, if you do that, you might let the alphabet decide the chair.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Preferably not, but I guess we could do this all night. It's all good. So Mark,
Yeah, because the first person that gets a majority of votes wins.
That's right.
Right, so if you vote for
First
Joe
majority
because you
vote.
like him, but you really wanted Ed, and Joe happens to get 5 votes, you're over. We don't even get to talk about whether we would have liked Ed and whether he would have gotten all 9.
This is a long-winded parliamentary way of saying that I will totally not take it personally when no one votes for me and everyone votes for Ed.
All right, so my vote is no, because I want it to be 2 remaining chairs.
Emily?
I'll just comment that I nominated Joe under Mary Ann's comment that, sometimes we might need, to switch it up just so that other people get the experience and perspective. So I will vote yes for Joe, even though I ambushed him with my nomination.
John Sullivan?
I'm gonna vote no for Joe.
Mr. Corbin?
No.
Joe?
No, sorry, Joe.
Joe?
Tempted to vote yes, because I know I can't be a majority at this point. I'll go ahead and vote no, though.
No. Ed?
Yeah, I'll vote no out of honor for Joe.
Marianne?
No.
Andrew? No. So that is 8 no's and 1 yes from Emily. We will vote for Marianne Downing now. Same order. Yes means yes for Marianne Downing. No means no Marianne Downing for chairship. Mr. Mark?
No.
Emily?
I'm gonna go yes, if I'm allowed. That's what it sounded like.
Okay. John Sullivan?
I'm gonna vote no.
Jeffrey?
No.
Joe?
Yes.
Yes. Joe?
No.
Ed?
No.
Marianne?
I'll vote yes for myself, but it's not gonna win anyway.
No.
So I think that is 2 yeses and
3.
3 yeses.
3 yes.
Yes. Emily,
You're right.
Joe.
I can do math. I'm an engineer. I can do math. And now we are voting yes or no for Ed Ross for chairship. We'll start with Mark,
Yes.
Emily,
Yes with my thanks.
John Sullivan,
Yes for me.
Jeffrey,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
No.
Marianne,
Yes.
yes, Andrew,
Yes.
yes. All right. So we got 1 no and 8 yeses.
And you didn't vote yes for anybody.
I did not vote anyone, yeah.
I'll hand it back to you.
All right, sorry, now we'll take nominations for vice chair.
I'd like to nominate Joe Carnahan.
We have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Mary Ann. Any other nominations? I'll nominate Mary Ann.
Second.
Second.
Thanks, Joe. All right, any other nominations? All right, so why don't we, we'll do the same order, and we'll go to a vote. We'll start with Joe.
Did you want Mary Ann or I to say anything?
Can Mary do that?
I mean,
All right, we can, yes, let's go ahead and do that. Let's have a more speaking, so we can draw this meeting
I have
longer.
a quip lined up, which is that I wanted to vote for Jean again in this role, and I'm kind of annoyed that I can't.
That's true.
But I will accept myself as a second choice.
That's great. Anything else on your end, Joe? I'm joking, of course. Anything on your end, Miriam?
No, I think I would like the vice chair role. I'm the second longest term. Me and Mark Zarrow are the second longest serving people after you, so I guess we've got that extra background. But I'm pretty easygoing to cooperate with anyone. I'm gonna be the same person that stays on top of details, just like all of us. And you know, as I said, I've chaired something before, so the vice chair sometimes has to fill in for you, so just whoever does that needs to just be organized and ready to take charge and manage things. So we're an easy group. It's not like some of the other boards. We're a great group,
We are easier. I will say that we are easier.
even for a large group of us.
Yes, we're not unruly. Large but not unruly.
Maybe we need some.
All right, so we'll go to the vote now. So we'll start with Joe Carnahan, and then, all the same rules apply, but I'll start with Mark Zarrow.
No.
Emily,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Jeffrey,
No.
Joe McDonough,
No.
Joe Carnahan,
Yes.
Mary Ann,
No,
Andrew. Yes. And I will vote yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 votes for 5-4 to Joe. Let's still do Mary Ann.
No, that's, once, the procedure is once you get.
The procedure is it once,
Once you get a majority, you're done.
is that what it is?
Yes.
you nominated me, but you didn't vote for me, see?
Okay. We did it differently at Killam, because we kept voting. All right, that's fine. Okay, all right, lesson learned as chair. All right, so voting is complete. Joe Carnahan is the new vice chair. Sorry about that, Mary Ann.
Thank you for voting, nominating.
Yeah.
No, thank you both for being willing to step in. Appreciate you both.
Okay, all right, so let's move on to the next agenda item, which is liaison assignment. So I don't know if Jackie's on, but
Yeah.
just another huge thanks. Like, I can't say it enough, all the stuff that she prepares for us is awesome, so super appreciate her having the liaison assignments that she put in the packet. And I think one of the things that I wanted us to be able to bring up, I mean, obviously, there's some of these things that we need to update because ARPA's on here. I don't think we need to necessarily keep that in there. Typically for like the heavier lifts, which is select board, school committee, and RMLD meets probably at a similar clip. They tend to be the heaviest ones from an attendee, so we probably have 2 or 3 people that will assign on our end. And that just, but I think typically, especially now that most of them are on Zoom and on recording, a lot of us are doing it outside of it too. So for Andrew, you and John, that are kind of new to it, from that perspective, kind of filling in. And I think we happy to kind of open it up if anyone has any kind of questions around their current assignments or where they might want to be. I don't think we necessarily need to, kind of solidify everything tonight. Kind of, we can have a kind of a discussion around that if anyone, kind of wants any kind of specific changes. Actually, let me do this. Let me stop here. Are folks prepared to kind of talk about their preferences? Okay, so I'm not, but that's fine. I assumed everyone was like me, but you guys are, as usual, more prepared than I am. So why don't we go around then and kind of talk through where folks might want to have as far as a liaison assignment, and then whatever kind of shakes out of that, if we're heavy or light and we're not having something, then we can kind of take that away and look at it from that perspective. So I'll start with folks in the room. So Jeffrey.
Yeah, I'd like to continue doing schools.
Perfect.
You can remove rec, yeah,
Yep.
from there.
Yep.
And if there's something else I should pick up, we'll see where we stand at the end of the.
Perfect. That sounds great.
Going through.
Joe McDonough.
Yeah, probably the same with me. Like I'm good with the library. Still trying to learn RMLD.
Yep.
Can move back, but I'm glad to pick up something else too. So
Awesome. Okay. Perfect. Joe Carnahan.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with changing, fine with, the select board meetings, I would end up talking about a lot more stuff that's relevant to us.
Yep.
RMLD meetings for the first part of the year when they got through their budget, this was very, and then after that, they were buying Transformers.
Right. Right. No, and I think that's the, there tends, that's how, similar, kind of observation on my end. There tends to be a nugget or two that's in there that might be, kind of relevant, but I agree. And the pretty light lift on, the town department side.
Yeah, well, have any of us done anything in our capacity as a liaison to a town department this year?
You came to have pizza.
No, I was just gonna say, I ate pizza, yes, exactly. Yes.
Pizza.
Couldn't possibly make it, I would have, you see there, it's got me there, it's a liaison, and I
We
didn't
ate
eat the pizza.
We ate the pizza on your behalf,
You
Joe.
had one job.
Exactly.
No,
Yeah, no, no, I don't think that. But department-wise, it ends up being, kind of a lighter, and I think it's, the one thing that and I don't know if this happens or it doesn't happen, at least for us, the one thing that it might be helpful is that we have some communique that goes back to the department heads on who the liaison is for us in case they do need to make contact for anything. I think that might be, kind of something that we should do on our side just to alleviate mail that comes to the chair. So yeah, but and then I don't have to recall who's the public works liaison.
Yes, I'm
Can I make a comment?
Sure, of course I do.
So Joe is the vice chair now, so he's probably gonna have more responsibility. So if you're willing, I'm willing to pick up RMLD from you, because you're the only one that has like 4 things on the list.
except for Ed who knows like everything, but that
Right.
doesn't count. So yes, I agree.
Yeah, I'll pick up
If you
RMLD.
wanted to step in and do RMLD, I think actually one question I wanted to ask.
Sure.
This is a great list, as you said, but it doesn't list what Jean was doing. And I don't remember that off the top of
So
my
I
head.
think that
She's the empty slot, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, she's like the one.
Committee and
Yeah, school.
administrative
Yeah.
services.
Oh, I didn't realize that wasn't part of,
No, that wasn't me. No.
fair. Okay, cool. So we have a vacancy for schools, we have a vacancy for administrative services.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm happy to, if you want to do RMLD.
Yeah.
I'm in.
And
That was
administrative
cool, I learned a
services.
bunch.
Well, I know a lot about it, so it's fine.
Perfect. All right, so yeah, we'll and then we'll keep
It's like board and public works.
the slot open for you too, Joe. On that side. All right, so Marion, how do things look on your end?
That looks fine. I follow the schools. I write a preview for the recap every week, so I could do that. But one thing I thought of that isn't listed here, and I haven't decided if I'm applying for, is the Charter Review Committee. I'll probably be following what they're doing, even if I'm not on it. So that might just be something, because to the extent that that impacts what FinCom does, if they make any changes in the charter, it's just I assume their meetings are gonna be public. It's gonna be only for this year, because the charter review has to get done by a certain time, so it's
Yep.
just a thought.
No, that's a great one, and actually, something else that I was gonna mention too, and I probably should have mentioned when we started, I think you mentioned SWAC. But I don't think we have someone,
Yeah, no, we don't have one for SWAC. That's a good
That's
we
that's
don't
an
have-
important one.
and we don't have anyone for really,
What's
mean,
the recalc too, the senior, I mean, I don't think,
Recap might be a good one, yeah.
and
because they're
then,
not sunsetting either
so I kind of thought, do we have, maybe this is on our end, we don't have something specific for rec also in our,
I thought Beverly
But
did
does-
that.
It's under public.
is it under,
Yeah,
it's under
I
public service?
go under the public/community service
Okay,
guys,
perfect.
and I meet with Jenna like once a month.
Perfect, okay, that's where I knew, I should have looked at where you were,
So then for me, I could be still select board and either schools or charter or both, because that, I'll be following them anyway.
that sounds good, so,
And then I had public services, community development, but if Emily's got that, I mean, to the extent I follow CPDC, but not as much rec.
okay, so what we'll do then is we'll, take public services and community development out,
Yeah,
and then have schools and charter,
schools, charter and, yeah.
and select board, and which you
Yeah,
already have.
it's select board's so big, it needs multiple of
No,
us, because there's so
absolutely,
much
yeah.
that they do.
Perfect, all right, that sounds good. You're comfortable with that?
Sure.
Okay, perfect. Andrew, so RLD, again,
No, I was thinking of the administrative services and public works.
that sounds great,
I'm familiar with those departments too, so.
that sounds great,
Administrative services upper grants.
perfect, okay. Okay. Alright. Mark, so you had, audit and PBC,
Yeah, I'll stay on those.
Perfect. Anything additional that you'd want, or are you just fine, and not trying to solicit anything, but just asking?
No, you already have two on the schools, so that would be the only other thing, so I'm fine with these two.
We could have a third on the schools if you really wanted it, Mark.
I can step aside from that if he wants to do it, cause I'm gonna do what I do anyway, so I don't need to be he can have it.
Oh, yeah, so have John, why don't we see what John ends up with?
Okay, all right. And I'll actually go to Emily next, just, are you fine with the one that you have, safety, Killam?
I am, but you have a spot on the Killam board, so if you would rather I can take SWAC or recalc in that place, since, you're obviously gonna be at all those meetings anyway.
That's true, I mean, but I know, you're in the districts, so you're gonna be following
Yeah, I
as
mean,
well?
I'm gonna be following along, but, I think you'll have more insight and real information. I'll have my slanted view.
We should dive into that a little bit at another time.
That's for Killam, I think. I think I heard a rumor that Emily's running yes for Killam.
That's right, I think that's
It's allowed by charter.
That's right. So is there one of those ones that you prefer, Emily?
No, I don't care. If John wants one, I can take the other.
Okay.
I think they're both, tied in with community services pretty well, so I'm happy to kind of be in that bucket.
Okay. All right, John, so a lot of pressure on you. Everyone's kind of just waiting, everything's hinging on your decisions, John.
Well, I was hoping for community development, which I think is still up for grabs after we've gotten all the way around, so.
Yep.
That, wherever else I could be useful, I guess.
So I think there was a list below this of the other assignments that maybe we didn't have.
Yeah.
Here we go. Is there anything we're missing?
Well, this is a list of what we have, I think, and not a list of what we don't have.
So we have admin.
Do we have facilities? didn't see that one.
It's currently listed with me.
Oh, okay.
happy
Sorry, I didn't see it.
to Trade that one off.
Comes done. And so Joe's got library, public safety. I think we're,
John and Emily flip a coin between Swag and
yeah, exactly. Do either one of you feel strongly about one or the other?
I feel slightly more strongly about SWEC, but only slightly.
I'm happy to take recalc. That's fine.
Perfect. That's what I like to see. That's why I like to see this is why this is the best committee that's out there.
We're also chill and easy. I love it.
Exactly. All right, so John's gonna take recalc and then Emily will take SWEC and because she's already got rec too.
It's facilities.
Quick, Kevin.
No.
Mr. Chair, so I've been designated one of your liaisons.
You might go into the podium, sorry.
Karen Herrick, 9 Dividends Road, Reading Select Board. I have been designated a Finance Committee liaison this year, as is our chair by the charter. And so I kind of had a wish list. One of the things the Select Board is responsible for is the lease and the agreement with the Reading Ice Arena Authority. It's $1 million organization. I would love to go over or share some financials with somebody on the finance committee at some point, so we have another knowledgeable person, so it doesn't have to be addressed tonight, but that's my wish list. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can volunteer for that if you want. Okay.
Boy, Joe, this is what we're talking about. Exactly what we're
Maybe you
talking
can learn how to
about.
skate too, so.
Well, I was just gonna say, I can't skate. So yeah, it was gonna be wasted on me.
I will teach you.
Exactly. It's gonna be wasted on me. No, that's great, Joe. Thanks so much for volunteering. And I think this is something that so I have a bunch of head scratching here, Jackie. I'll be. You probably have it better than I do, but I'll
Man, have you looked at the screen?
She's doing it as we're talking.
Yes.
Yes. Nice, great job. Well, she's missing Joe Carnahan as vice chair, so I'm just gonna say that right away. Thanks, Jackie, for doing that, appreciate it. What we'll do is, we'll circulate this, and then if anyone has any, kind of adds or deletes, or if anybody thinks of anything
Is there
else.
anything, Ed, I see you have 4 and I only have 1. I don't know if you feel like you want to give something up.
I would love to give, no offense to Sharon, I would love to get rid of the audit committee, but I can't, as chair.
It has to be the chair.
I have to have it as chair, although Joe, the chair has been absent for a lot of audit committee meetings, and we have to tap the vice chair for that, just, that's not,
Okay, all right.
just so you
Good to
know. Jane ran a bunch of those meetings. Actually, I mean, so what do you have, are you, take public safety then, I would, select board is.
Yeah, can't do the select party in school.
Exactly, yeah, so, if you can, perfect, thanks, Jackie.
To me, to Jeffrey.
And to Jeffrey,
Jeffrey.
yeah, it goes to Jeffrey,
Heard one down.
perfect, thanks.
Hey Ed,
Yeah,
is there, if I remember right, is there a new housing authority or housing trust coming in this past year? Do they need a liaison?
Not yet. So town meeting did vote it, but we're waiting for the legislature to dissolve the old trust. So it's with the legislature. This legislative season, the legislature is not known for passing a lot of things. So we're in the queue.
Okay.
well, and I think we're good for what we have here, and then if we think of anything else, what we should probably do is we should just have this on our next agenda, just so we can solidify it, make sure that we have everything, and let everyone sleep on it, wrestle with what your decisions that you've made. This is public, this is public, so you're gonna have to, that's fine. And then we'll solidify it after that, but it looks good. I think that it seems pretty well distributed as far as assignments, so. But if anyone, if anyone does want to have one of the bigger ones too, we'd still be under quorum if someone wanted to be in schools or attend a select board. I think that goes without saying, but just I figured I'd bring that up as well. All right, so let's move on to the MBTA communities presentation.
Sure thing. There we go. So good evening all. Thank you for having us tonight for a topic that may not be directly related to your work as a committee, but very important nonetheless. I am Community Development Director Andrew McNichol. I think I've had the pleasure of meeting a good handful of you throughout my years here, but perhaps not everybody. And our Senior Planner, Mary Benedetto, is here with me as well. She's been in town for about 6 months, so please gracefully welcome her as well. We're here to talk to you today about the MBTA Communities Law, what it is, why we're talking about it now, what the next steps are going to be, both as us as the planning division and hopefully this community as a whole. So thank you again for the time, and Jackie, I think we can go to the next slide. So starting with what is the law, the MBTA Communities Law is just that. It's a law that was passed at the state level, and what it does is it mandates to require all cities and towns in the Boston Metro to zone for and allow for multifamily by right within their zoning at a prescribed density. And in and around your MBTA station area, they'll call it. So multifamily in zoning means 3+ units on a lot, individual, combined, etc., 3+ units on a single lot. There are many municipalities going through this process at the same time, 177, I believe. There's a varied amount of designations, timelines, requirements for each of those municipalities, but Reading falls into that. So I could give you very specific numbers on what's called the zone unit capacity, the district of reasonable size, but I don't necessarily want or need to get into that tonight for you. It's all going to come in the near future. So everyone's working through it, but really what this is it's still a mandate and a law, and it's for zoning. So Jackie, we can go to the next slide, please, to describe what zoning is. A lot of people are familiar with it, a lot of people have heard about it, a lot of people have never heard about it. So zoning really is simply the community's guidebook to new development across the municipality. Each creates their own, and it really says what can be built, where it can be built, and how it can be built. Dimensional controls, parking regulations, open space, etc., etc., etc. It's also really a representation of the community's values and how they look to shape their own future. So for example, let's say the town decides affordable housing is an important, well-worthy effort. We would prescribe what's called inclusionary zoning in the zoning bylaw so that new development of multifamily housing would require affordable units. So that's just one example of many, and really you've seen a lot of development based on zoning that's been initiated over the last few years and throughout Reading's history. So there's been a lot of good efforts made, but because zoning is a rule book, it only impacts new and future development, which is why it's a very long-term outlook and effort when we're going through it. So what's also important in relation to MBTA communities is that the multifamily zoning is allowed by right. And what that means is there's no discretionary approvals like a special permit, a variance, a waiver of any sort from the zoning. By right means that it's an allowed use. It does not mean that it can skip a regulatory process like site plan review, so there can still be a public process to it, but it cannot necessarily be denied or placed with unreasonable conditions and restrictions on it. So in a nutshell, that's what zoning is. I could speak for hours about it, but I won't put you to sleep this early. So Jackie, we can go to the next slide, please. So the bigger question is why now? And the easy answer kind of why we're doing this now is that the law has been passed and it's been put in place, and based on Reading's designation, we have to comply by the end of calendar year 2024, or else without compliance, we could face loss of grant opportunities that have been historically used in town. The Reading Housing Authority could face impacts to its budgets, and most importantly, we may face litigation if we're not compliant, both by the state or by public rights groups. So, and there could be other things that follow that, but in the present state, those are some of the items that we know for non-compliance. The deeper answer to why now is that trends of the status quo haven't really done enough to quote unquote solve the housing shortage. And that's not something Reading can fix alone, which is why this is a much larger regional state initiative and placement. So we've recently completed our housing production plan update. It just was certified, I believe, in February of 2023. And the numbers from that are quite eye-opening. We're seeing higher levels of cost burdening, which is someone spending 30% or more of their income on housing, and that the average income in Reading, which is quite high at $133,000 a year, really still cannot afford the median home price of $815,000 without facing cost burdenship. Now, everybody, of course, each individual and family faces their own unique circumstances, but from a high level view, the numbers still are a bit frightening. So here we are, and I can get a bit more into the specifics, because if you haven't shopped for a home or apartment in the last few years, you might not be aware of some of these trends and where they currently are and why this is happening now. So in the Boston Metro, for example, fair market rent has increased about 50% in the last 5 years alone. And fair market rent, really, as a quick definition, is used nationally by HUD, and it's set at a regional standard for rental market, and it's based on the 40th percentile of rents. So that means the 60% plus could be higher than those fair market rents, which are still quite eye-opening when you look at them. Rents have increased a bit slower in Reading itself, but still up 32% over the last decade. And when we do look at the numbers that we have, we're seeing that renters are faced with a higher percentage of cost burdenship than homeowners, though both are still between 30 and 50% of cost burdens. So the median home price, again, $815,000 isn't really truly affordable to the median average income. And this is really in particular to young adults who are upcoming on their own and trying to secure their place to live for the long term and find a community that they feel is available to them. So, as well as intergenerational things like downsizing, living in place, and so on. So it's not just one demographic alone that faces this issue. Jackie, we can go to the next slide, please. Another one of the reasons why this trend is being seen across the region and the state is that there's really a aggregate lack of supply over the long term, as many suburbs and suburban communities have predominantly stayed single family zoning. And again, it's not an end all be all to the answer or issue at hand, but it is something that we find noteworthy. So some towns expressly exclude multifamily, some like Reading do allow it and have seen a lot of multifamily growth over it. But overall, Reading specifically is still 75% single family homes. And between the other 25% of units, about 16% is high dense 10 to 20 plus unit buildings. And we're doing more research now, but there are some trends and findings to that are a bit interesting as well. Their placements, what they look like, where they are, when they were built, how many multifamily high dense units compared to 3 and 4 families, which you can see by the graph is still quite low. So it's just one thing that we're finding in the current data that we're looking at, but there are many reasons to this issue and many reasons to be pursuing this now outside of the state law and mandate that many feel. But I'm going to pass it to Mary to present our schedule and kind of where we're at and what, yes.
If I can ask you a question about this particular chart, just making sure I understand. So this is a percentage of structures. So like a 20 unit structure is one structure, right, and a single family house is one structure. So it's not. Yes. It's not percentage of units. Right. It's percentage
Correct.
of structures.
So we're looking at both. We're looking at a lot of data, but yes, households versus housing stock versus housing units. There's a lot of terminology. There's a lot of differences between each, and we will hopefully have that to present at a later point. Yes, please.
You had said something, it isn't on a slide, but you'd said 133K is average in Reading. Is that per capita or a household?
Household.
So that's a two incomes?
It could be, and it's median income, yes. But it could be two. A household, it could be a family, it could be a single person household, it could be a combined household. A lot of different averages there.
Okay.
Yes.
Like, we just have to come up, like, I know it's just, but like a plan by January, right? Like, or is that the?
So Mary's gonna speak.
I'm jumping ahead.
Yeah, no worries. Mary's gonna speak a little bit to the schedule. We're hopeful she'll get more into that. That we're aiming for April town meeting, but I'll pass it to her. If there's no other questions, I'll pass it to her to get a bit into that.
Cool.
Cool.
Do you wanna go to the next slide? Thank you. The kind of top line takeaway about this right now is that Reading does not comply with the law, right? We do not comply. Although we do have multiple multifamily zoning districts that fall within that half-mile radius of the train depot downtown, none of those zoning districts, the way they're currently written, comply with the law. There's a variety of technical reasons why that is, having to do with minimum lot sizes, the acreage, waivers required for density in those. Because we have multiple districts, Reading is in kind of a unique and interesting position in that there are multiple very plausible paths that we can take to comply. That's why we're here talking to you, why we've started our engagement process, why we're out talking to community members, because we need community members to help inform us about which of the many plausible paths we could take is gonna be the best fit for Reading. There is, as we mentioned, there is a hard deadline to this to comply with the state. It is December 2024, and as Andrew mentioned, we do hope to take this to town meeting in April of 2024. That's what we're planning on right now. If you wanna go to the next slide. This is what our timeline looks like. It is a very aggressive timeline. We've divided our process into two kind of phases, a phase 1 and a phase 2. Keeping in mind that we are just two people doing a very large and involved process and trying to pace it so that we can get the information we need and engage the community at a good pace. It does end, our timeline does end at the end of this year, so we're hoping to have a final proposal ready at that time. I'm gonna go to the next slide. We'll talk a little bit about what the engagement actually is. So right now we're in phase 1. We are here talking to boards. Our primary goal in phase 1 is to get the information that we need to be able to start narrowing down all of the possibilities to craft possible proposals to how to change the zoning. One of the main ways we're doing that is through a survey, which we have open now. We have got some questions about why we started with the survey. We decided to start with a survey because when we found out that none of our districts complied, we looked at the information that we had and decided that we didn't have really quality information from the residents of Reading as to what their real opinions were about types of multifamily housing, right? We have a lot of options. We're starting with at the top of the funnel and we're trying to narrow our way down through the funnel to come to our last proposal. And we've designed our process to hopefully get us there. So we're starting wide and asking people to help us narrow it down. And as we get narrower, we'll start to release more of the details about actual proposals and changes to our zoning. We've also structured our engagement in that way. We're trying to let everyone know that we're starting the process now so that they can come along on the whole journey with us and help inform us and guide our decisions. Phase 2 will start this fall and will be a series of forums starting in September, but we'll be presenting kind of more details about the actual details of the law, kind of background history, and then conceptual proposals. And we're anticipating it being an iterative process. We don't anticipate presenting one and everyone congratulating us, right? It's gonna be, we're gonna go through a process with the community. Any questions about any of that? You can go to the next slide. It's just, we've launched a detailed webpage, right? So we have a very detailed FAQ that goes through how the state determined all of our qualifications. It answers all the questions that you have, anything we think people want to know right now. And we have our survey, which will be live till the end of August. We strongly encourage each person individually to take the survey. We love and need quality responses. We encourage you to talk to your neighbors. We encourage you to talk to the people that you liaison with. As we just discovered, you liaison with everyone. So the more people that you can share the news to, the better it will be for us, because we really need residents to help us inform the decisions that we're going to make. Thank you.
Any questions? On the level of it, so like, maybe just give me a little bit of background. I'm sure it's in the FAQ, but like, so there's many like you said, like we have districts set up
We do. We have, so within the half mile of the downtown train depot, there are multiple zoning districts that allow multifamily housing by right. So we have A40, which is apartment 40, we have the business B, there's some business A. One of the biggest issues why none of our districts comply is an issue with minimum lot sizes, which is that most of our parcels are much smaller than the minimum lot size specified in our districts, just for example. There is an avenue, right, where you start tweaking the existing districts. They produce different results, right? If that's why we started with a survey, which is like if we've heard feedback from the community that people aren't thrilled with the amount of development that's already been happening downtown, do we want to take a route where we tweak all of the zoning districts downtown and that will produce potentially more development, right? So those are the kind of questions that are raised at the beginning of this process.
Gotcha.
Yes.
I know when this first came out, I remember, I think it was your predecessor, Julie Mercier, gave presentations on the number of units we needed, and then we didn't know if we had to back away from that. So can you tell me how many units we have to build and how many have to be half mile within the train station, and then the rest can be somewhere else in Reading?
So we don't have to build any, so it's
Well, how many do we have to zone for?
zoned capacity. It's 1,493 units on 43 acres. And at least half of that has to be within the half mile of the train depot.
And what's our capacity right now within a half mile of the train depot? Like, we have to change we clearly have to change something.
It depends on the zoning district. I would encourage you to look at the FAQ, all the details.
Okay.
So we did our early technical assistance and they analyzed several of those districts and came up with a current density, like density unit per acre. And then they list the acreage, density units per acre, so you can go through kind of what we know right now, and then we'll be presenting this information in more detail to the public starting in September.
And so also just to add on that early TA, like there's a unit capacity given for each of the districts that we looked at. But it's not like we can just add those together because they still don't meet the minimum density requirements required under MBTA communities. So in essence, it can say 40R has 800 zone unit capacity, but really it's still kind of like a zero in the tool because it doesn't meet the minimum density acreage, so.
Is there any process for any of the other communities to be able to kind of challenge back like what has been kind of already because it doesn't quite necessarily, kind of that one size fits all doesn't fit every community. Has there been anything from neighboring communities or any of these other communities that have gone back and tried to challenge and kind of present their case or around that, or is that not something that's even an option? Just curious.
I think people have challenged and questioned it, and I think the Office of Equitable Housing and Livable Communities, their new title was DHCD, has done a good job of responding to those questions. They've updated the tool for people who have noticed that in their towns, maybe they have, say, an aquifer protection district that they're looking at and want to consider, but impervious lot area is maximized in that. They've done a good job of editing their tool to be able to account for that. So I don't think necessarily those who have pushed back, they're not told that, no, you're good, you don't have to comply. That's not gonna happen, in my opinion. So they're doing their best to respond to all the challenges that each one faces individually and uniquely.
Compliance deadlines have also been in waves. So at the end of last year, everyone who, for example, has like T-Service or Rapid Bus Transit Service had to comply by that date. And so the deadline that we're reaching is for everyone who has commuter rail.
Gotcha, okay.
And this is to update just like the zoning, right? So when do you actually have to be in compliance? 5-10 years from now? Is there a chance of?
The compliance is just the zoning.
Okay.
There is no mandate to build.
Okay, so it's just gonna be, the market will dictate, right? People will take advantage of the zoning, for lack of a better term.
Correct. If you create zoning that is very economically feasible, maybe there'll be a lot of construction. If you choose zoning that is less appealing to market actors, slower to build, maybe not at all.
And there's no like incentives in terms of grants and more frequent commuter rail service that, you know, go, yeah, okay, just.
Be pushing for it.
We wish, we hope.
Is there a minimum lot requirement for it for a multifamily right now? Like if we go with this, right? Let's say I live right across the train station and my lot is 5,000 square feet. Can I build 20 units there?
So these are the questions that we'll be digging into, right, when we start to present proposals about how to change the zoning. As of now, a 5,000 square foot minimum lot is a non-conforming lot, so you absolutely under current zoning could not build on it. Right, so when we look at one of the ways to reach compliance is by reevaluating our lot sizes to bring more lots into compliance. When they're in compliance, you can build on them by right. So the kind of sweet spot for us will be evaluating what's a good lot size. And then if we say we wanna put multifamily on it, what's an appropriate, area ratio, what are the good setbacks, what's a good number of units? How do we maintain the character and feeling that people of Reading think is appropriate on different lot sizes?
The skyline, the skyline will be part of the conversation too.
Exactly.
So just thinking, if the zoning is there, do we also have to have a plan to come up with the infrastructure to support potentially these units? I mean, right now, we are digging up our downtown to put in lots of water and sewer to go with our 40R zoning. Now conceivably, I know that the MBTA won't necessarily match it, but say you said, okay, it could be at least this dense, a half-hour radius of the train station. I don't know that we have the water and sewer capacity or utilities capacity to support those units, and we don't have to go build it necessarily, but do we also have to present a plan for how we would, say 5 lots near the train station change and we're gonna have 2,000 units there? And somehow we have to do we have to have that kind of a plan too?
We do not have to have a plan for utility infrastructure to be built within a prescribed timeline, but with the work done, we're fairly confident, at least in the half mile, that there's adequate supply and service.
So that was gonna be my next question, that what we're doing downtown could at least support some of this, that's good.
This is just an exercise in zoning. You don't have to present anything else to them.
If you zone it, they will come.
Maybe that's
Yeah.
fine.
I think the town engineer will have a better answer for you, and I think infrastructure is probably there.
So I have a vague recollection that originally we're a commuter rail community. There was also some question as to whether we were a bus community or a commuter rail community, and there were different levels and how much housing. And I think one of them was less favorable or required a whole lot more, and we pushed back and said, no, we think we're this other kind. Did that get settled out?
Yes, we are officially designated as a commuter rail community.
That's better.
That's less units, I
And that's
think, at
better.
least.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I was not here, but I will accept
You
it.
have a lot of work in front of you anyway, so you take whatever you can get.
So we have these lot sizes that are too small, but we're trying to put multifamily housing on them. That seems like if you've got a small.
They're not too small, they don't comply with current zoning. So the idea of what is too small is maybe separate and qualitative versus just objectively saying that our current minimum lot size is 15,000 square feet. So ignoring just talking about non-conforming lots for a minute, right, which is like 78% of lots in the single family 15,000 square foot zoning don't comply with that because they are below 15,000 square feet. Just for example, in Reading, right? So the minimum lot sizes in our code don't necessarily match up with the reality of what actual lot sizes are on the ground. And so that becomes, for the purposes of this zoning exercise that we're submitting to the state, an issue because all of those non-conforming lots you can't build on by right.
You can't build anything by right, because even a single family house it's not conforming.
Theoretically, yeah.
So how did we get there?
Come
my
to the
house
forum
was
in
built
September, I'm gonna tell you.
So has the minimum lot size increased?
It has.
So when my house was built in 1911,
So-
there was.
Yeah, the original minimum lot size was 10,000 square feet, and even when they did that, a lot of the historical lots were smaller than that. And then in the I'm gonna say 1995.
Five.
1995, they changed the smallest up to 15,000. And when they did that, they knew that they were making them not conforming, and they said, no problem.
So that's part of our research, is the
Yeah.
history kind of how it got here.
Just looked it up, my house is on 11,000 square feet, it's an S15, so it's
And it's within a half mile of the train station, so.
Thank you, appreciate it, thanks for doing that.
Thank
Thank you for all the great questions.
Good luck.
Super helpful, thank you.
All right, so next we have, so, I know, I saw the presentation in the packet. So, this, landscape stuff, how are we gonna discuss and go through this?
Yeah, I think at our last meeting, we talked about the fact that I think the concern with a finance standpoint was, is this a capital project? And is this in the capital plan? And what is the funding mechanism for it? So since, and who's overseeing it? So since our last meeting, I met with the members of the library landscaping committee. They were supposed to have a meeting last Thursday, but they didn't have a quorum. But they will meet in August, and they, what we agreed is that they will ask the library board of trustees for their support to expand the membership of the committee, to include actually Andrew. Andrew was in the meeting with me, and to include a member of the select board, if the select board is okay with it, and to include me, so we round out basically the committee. The committee explained that you know, they're in the dreaming phase. I call it an envisioning phase. Right? They're envisioning what they don't have any funding. It's more of identifying a need, similar to what we did last night with the dog park, right? We want a dog park in Reading. Do we have any money for it? No. Do we have a location for it? No. Is it realistic that's going to happen? We don't know, right? But it's a dream, I think, at this point, and it's a conversation. I think we got to start somewhere, and that's what they're doing now. So all to summarize, they're going to meet again. They're going to recommend that the library board of trustees kind of round it out and include a member of the select board. I did not know if the finance committee wanted a member in it. I can certainly go back to them and request it if that is your desire. But certainly I will be part of that committee. Andrew will be part of the committee from a planning standpoint, a project management standpoint, and also they will approach the select board to have a member of the select board be part of the committee.
Good, Joe.
And Phil, just from my understanding, like at the trustee meeting, I don't, like right now, I don't think like Amy and them, I don't think they envisioned using like town money, correct? Like potentially there was like an operating, you know, support need, but like it seemed like it was just like in the visionary stage, and that the only, like they have the potentially the Friends or the foundation might be the funding source, and that could be a $10 project or a $1 million project, right?
Yeah.
So,
They shared the endowment of the foundation. I don't know if that's public, and I'm not going to share it, but it was surprising to me. So yes,
It's public, you can find it in their IRS filings, because I looked it up.
it was surprising to me. So
Yeah,
so
that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. I had no idea. I hadn't looked it up, and I was pleasantly surprised. So yeah.
I wasn't concerned as the money as much as, you know, digging and putting in an installation on public lands, does that require, you know, competitive bidding, or can someone do it privately?
It would.
And then would the town engineer want to weigh in on if any installations and digging, what does that do to the building and everything?
Absolutely. So the certainly Joe Huggins, who's our facilities director, and how we have it is kind of and all towns are like this. Is facilities maintained like right up to the sidewalk, and then it's DPW, right? So there's a little bit of overlap, but Joe Huggins is on board. The same, we're probably gonna hire the landscape architect that does most of the landscape architect in town, which is Activitas, that's doing Birch Meadow. But again, that's down the line. We haven't, right now, we're in the dreaming phase, envisioning phase.
Gotcha.
Oh, just one other, I think I had asked this the last question, so you said Activitas, so GNAP doesn't do that, our on-house retainer, they don't do landscape, because then we could get some ideas for free if they're.
Yeah, so what we discussed, basically, GNAP is like inside the building.
I see, okay.
And Activitas is more like landscaping, it's right, and this is probably like, it could be, it's at that edge, right, where it's not infrastructure on the street, but it's kinda, it's not in the building either, like we're not doing an office renovation, for example, where it is strictly in the building, it's kinda, it's that in between, so either one, Joe Huggins actually, suggested that we go with Activitas because they on the website they're more of a landscaping, creating spaces. That's more their forte.
Yeah, no, I think the background materials were helpful in describing, kind of future plans and, what they envisioned using some of the outdoor space and maximizing it, I guess. So I thought that was helpful.
Yeah, if you go to the next, so in the slides that are in the packet, they obviously have a whole lot of ideas that might not be feasible there, might be. It really depends on how bold of a view we take and how much of the space we take. So, which is, again, it could be an envisioning exercise. But to confirm Mary Ann's point, this would have to be a public project. So it would have to be done by facilities. It would have to be bid out. How it's funded, it's a little different.
Gotcha. Any other questions from anybody on the committee? I can't see anybody on the Zoom. Everybody fine on Zoom?
All good here.
Oh, good.
Good over here.
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks, Fidel. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we are, actually, before we get to the meeting minutes, because that'll slide quickly in the adjournment. When's our next?
Jackie will know better than I do. Miss Jackie, do you remember? Next meeting?
Check real quick.
August 23rd, I think.
Yes, Wednesday, August 23rd.
7 p.m. And I'll say that on that one, I don't want to steal Sharon's thunder, but on that one, we'll probably have a view of our free cash position. What do you think, Sharon? August 23rd?
Give me an estimate.
Good hedge.
No promises.
Yeah.
Jackie, can you send an invite for that one?
Absolutely.
Thanks.
So, and if we can, is that the one where we talked about having new school finance director come in?
That's right. And he's booked. So
He's booked,
It's
okay.
Derek. He started on Monday. He's met with me. He met with Karen Herrick, actually, Carla, and Ms. Sharon.
He's met with me twice.
Yeah. So yeah, he's hitting the ground running. He started on Monday.
Nice.
Now with all of us, and it's Wednesday.
Terrific. Okay. All right. So yeah. So that's like a little bit of an outline as far as what we have on the agenda.
Yeah, and at that point, we should have a sense of town meeting in November, and we'll start talking about the financial forum.
Yeah.
At that point, we'll have a lot more meat and potatoes.
Okay. All right. So yeah. So what? Yeah. So discussion on free cash estimate. Gonna be final. We'll finalize the liaison reports. We'll meet the new director of finance for the schools and financial forum planning. Oh, hi, Joe, sorry. Vice Chair, what do you got for me?
Taking nice detailed notes and not,
Sorry.
it's cool. I was wondering whether we were going to hear again about Grove Street. That was left.
Yes, we should be able to, so we posted it, we're getting out to bid, I will have numbers by then.
Perfect, okay.
Yes.
We'll put grocery on there too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
As a finance committee member, I'm happy for us to not hear about it and not spend money. That's fine.
Right.
But on the other hand, if we are going to be asked about
Way
money,
to push it along,
it
Joe.
would be good to
Yeah.
know that.
We gotta watch out for Joe Carnahan, he likes to spend the money. All right,
It's exactly the opposite.
anything else, any other questions, kind of future agenda, our next meeting, anything else anyone has? I'm looking up for my note taking. All right, perfect.
There was a question about, this thing where we hear about random things is kind of, okay, it was interesting. Our agendas are gonna pretty soon get crowded, actually, that one. So, and then after that, we get to real work on financial forums.
Yep.
There are other, Recalc and SWEC both are big things that, may be big projects.
Yep.
Maybe we wanna get updates from them in the context of the financial forum. We kind of did from Recalc last year.
Yeah. That's probably, I think that's probably the right spot for them is there versus just one of our meetings.
Makes sense.
I think it won't, I don't know if we do it for the 23rd, but we talked about RMLD too.
Yeah, we did.
I'm just hearing from them.
Yeah, financial update.
Yeah, but we don't need to jam them into the 23rd. I want to be out by 8:30.
Yeah, I actually reached out to RMLD, I think he got back to me on a date that worked for them, but
I think you did too, and I
Yeah.
can't recall it.
I can't recall yet.
So it's not urgent. It was just an idea that I had, so.
He said, he's coming September 20th.
Perfect.
By then he should have a year-to-date number, since summer is the most active season for electricity.
Nice, okay, perfect. Okay, awesome. All right, so we can go on to meeting minutes. Anybody have any questions or edits on the meeting minutes from June 28th? I did not have anything on my end.
Move to approve the minutes for June 20th. Second.
Second?
Perfect, thanks. A little slow, Emily. Joe McDonough beat you to it. All right, so I will take a vote. Oh, I gotta get my list up again here so I can get everything. Jeffrey?
Yes.
Joe McDonough?
Yes.
Joe Carnahan?
Yes.
Mary Ann?
Yes.
Hendry?
Yes.
Mark?
I'll abstain, I wasn't at the meeting.
Emily?
Yep.
John?
Yes.
And Ed, yes. So 8-0, the minutes are approved.
8-0.
801, yes, thanks Jeffrey. 801 minutes are approved. Any other business? Perfect. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Emily, we're gonna have to work on this, Emily. It's, I like the enthusiasm, but it's just, it's not working.
It's too hard on Zoom, man.
I know.
Be in person next time.
You gotta get here. That's what it boils down to. Thanks, boys. So Joe C. and Joe McDonough. Take it to a vote. Jeffrey?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Mary Ann?
Yes.
Hendry?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Emily?
Yep.
John?
Yes.
And Ed, yes, 9-0. We are adjourned.